Okay, give me 2 seconds for it to start. Good evening. Welcome to our regular board meeting of September 2nd, 2021. We call the meeting to order. We begin by introducing board members, beginning with Jim.
Jim Lothridge.
Alyssa Tracy.
Peregrine Bolduc Ignatiak.
Matthew Marshall. Tony Veet.
Becky Fless.
Patrick Saucier.
Nicole Medore. Teresa Garrett.
Colin McGough.
Nancy Fortier Brown.
Administrative staff.
Beth Hopkins, Superintendent.
Chad Kempton, High School Principal.
Andrea Dish, Business Manager.
Alicia Morris, Director of Special Services.
Christina O'Neill, Principal of Pittston Randolph Consolidated School. Katie Gould, Principal at Helen Thompson School.
Vicki Dugay, Principal, Riverview Community School.
Sarah Sims, Principal at Gardner Regional Middle School.
Josh Farr, Director of Adult Education.
And Terry McGuire, Director of Technology. There we go. Let's stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Public comment for items on the agenda or not on the agenda?
None at this time.
Review and approval of agenda minutes, prioritization of items, and alteration of the established agenda format sequence as needed.
Yes, I have a few adjustments on page 2. Under general information, we have a lead nurse. Kristen Martin has offered to serve in that capacity. Again, it would be for a 1-year position only. And that would be for a stipend of $3,500. We have Suzanne Bisson, and we've hired as a district ed tech for the Riverview Community School. Ginger Saucy as a nutrition worker at the middle school. We've hired a teacher at grade 5 in Helen Thompson, Javen DeHaven. And then under new business, I would like to cross out number A. Number A. Sorry. Letter A, consideration to charge an entrance fee at home volleyball games. We are not pursuing that at this time.
A motion, please, to adopt the agenda as adjusted.
I second.
So moved by Tony, second by Teresa. Questions, conversation? All those in favor? Motion carries. Approval of minutes of previous meetings, regular board meeting of August 5th and the special board meeting of August 19th, 2021. Motion to approve.
I'll make the motion.
Thank you, Nancy. Second by Cullen. Questions, comments? All those in favor? Motion carries. Thank you. Okay. No recognitions and celebrations, correspondence. Yes.
I move we recognize and celebrate the successful return to school and thank all the faculty and staff of the Eaton District.
On the record. Yes. All those in favor? Excellent. Thank you, Colin. What a great idea.
Very cool.
Doing those things, Colin. Keeping on my toes.
Just one moment. It caught me by surprise. I need to get caught up. And I may need you to stay at the end of the meeting so I can more clearly capture your motion. Okay.
Perfect. Correspondence, just as written.
Yes.
Committee reports, curriculum committee.
Yes, we had a curriculum committee on August 10th, beginning at 4:30. I was present, Nicole Modore, Nancy Fortier Brown, Anthony B, Angela Hardy, and Terry McGuire. We talked about some policy business. We reviewed the IKF and Gardner Area High School class standing policy, and I think is going to review that as well this fall. We talked about Latin honors and top 10, adding that to the student handbook, and that's probably going to be reviewed by policy as well. I don't know if you did that tonight. I wasn't here.
We started.
You started. And we talked about open campus policy and adding, making sure that folks that are eligible for open campus have are tracking for community voluntary type hours. And we also added that the revocation of open campus privilege can certainly be done by parents. And parents have to buy off on open campus at the beginning as well. So that's about it.
Thank you, Matt. There were no other committee meetings. Folk field update.
Do we want to just see if Gwen, I know school's only been in session, we have down here no report, but is there anything that you would like to report?
I'm incredibly excited to be back in school. I've never seen such full classes even before COVID. It was amazing. It was just astounding. I've never seen such happy faces. Yeah, that's really it. There's some football games coming up at Messalonsky this Saturday. Our cheerleaders will be there and our football team. So if you could go support them, that would be awesome. And fall sports are also very up and running, very exciting. I myself am on the cross country team and I didn't get to see an actual season last year, and this year it's very different, but it's fun. It's very enjoyable. And that's all I've got.
Great. And what time is the football game on Saturday?
7.
Okay, perfect. Thank you, Gwen. Alrighty. Brookfield. We did not meet this week. However, as you all recall, we have signed a contract with Field Turf. With Field Turf, and we are proceeding forward. We're hoping that by the middle of October, perhaps the field will be here, but we don't have any guarantee of that. It might be the end of October. So that's what we know so far.
Weather plays a role in that as well. So
Yes, if we continue to have lovely weather as we've been having, our chances are probably greater. So speak to the weather gods. General information.
just as written.
Okay. Nominations.
Yes, I would like to nominate Javen DeHaven as a grade 5 teacher at the Helen Thompson School. Excited to have him. Remember, this is a 1-year position. It is funded. It should have said this. It is ESSER funded. He is helping to lower the class sizes in grade 5, and so we're happy to have him.
Motion, please, to accept this hire.
I motion to accept the hire.
Thank you, Teresa. Second by Matthew. Questions or comments? All those in favor? Motion carries. Thank you. Discussion on the return to school plan.
All right, why don't we start with just the opening of school versus the creation of the District Health Advisory Committee. So I've asked administrators if they would just stand up at the podium and give you a very brief summary of how it's been going. So far, I would say it's been a pretty successful start to the school year. It's been a great couple days. It has not been without its challenges. I'm certain you have all heard about some traffic over at the middle school. We've heard about it, absolutely. And Sarah has worked really hard to improve that situation today. A lot more parents were driving students than we anticipated, given some information that we had. So I'm not sure who would like to begin. Sarah, would you like to begin? And just, again, just a brief update.
Absolutely, sure, we'll just go right in. So It has been an incredible beginning, and the energy and the excitement from the students coming in and the families we've talked to has just been contagious. The staff is phenomenal, and they have dove right in, really trying to welcome students back and ensure that they feel, safe and, part of the community. I think the neat thing, if we want to call it anything from COVID, is that we're having this opportunity right now to come back together as a full community and really remake those connections and forge forward together, and redesign kind of who we are as a team, as our school community. So it's been really beautiful. As mentioned, we had some really exciting traffic stuff going on yesterday. We had over 350 parents drop off. So you can imagine that's great. Right, so you can imagine that we were not entirely prepared for 350 cars to be out on our avenue, and to try to come through our very small asphalt area at the building. But we revamped and we made some plans in the afternoon. It was smoother, and then today I think we actually saw what looked more like what we'll see on a regular basis, and still adjusted some things and really pulled. I would be remiss to not give a shout out to our SRO and the police department for being supportive of that and offering additional suggestions if we again faced a very large number of drop-offs. So, and again, a huge thank you to our parents for being so understanding that that's a lot of cars to try to bring through in 25 minutes for drop-off. And so we know it caused quite the kerfuffle, but we appreciated them very, very much being flexible and willing to give us the opportunity to shift over a couple of days. So today seemed a very big success, and we didn't have cars as far as the eye could see. So, and again, the spirits were high, and just, again, the energy just feels beautiful, and the kids are excited and staff is excited, and they dove in like they didn't miss a day. It's been amazing, so. All right.
Thank you, Sarah.
Sarah. And welcome.
I'll speak for Riverview. We started Monday night with an open house, and we were so excited to have an open house this year where we weren't able to have one just virtually last year. So we invited families to come, and we asked parents to stay outside. Luckily, the rain held off. We've been back to learn about the storm, and we were able to bring kids into the building for the first time. Third graders have never been inside the building at Riverview, so it was really exciting for them to be able to meet their teachers before school started, to see their classroom, and the teachers took them around for a tour so they would know where lunch was and recess was, and the bathroom, which is always important. So Monday was very successful. Then we had our first day of school, and today was just really heartwarming for me. I was walking down the hallway this morning with two little third graders, and I said, "How was your first day of school?" And I got one, "It was awesome." So I don't know how you can top that. That just made my day. So now we're just excited to get into the school year. We've got new curriculum that we're working with, and just a lot of really good initiatives. So we're excited about the school year, and just to have everybody back 5 days is just awesome. So thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, well, at HT, I just have to say, likewise, in every building I know, there is nothing that the team won't do to support our kids coming back, and it is busy over the last, over the first few days. So, like Vicki, we had an open house at HT, and our parents have completely embraced this unconventional way of doing school and open house. And it was, yesterday was our first day with the STEPS program being at Helen Thompson, and that was just seamless. Our kiddos had a great day. Our kids feel really settled. They're so excited to be back in the building. Some tricky spots throughout the day are making the cafeteria, the space in the cafeteria work. It's a big jump. We still had to use unique scheduling to make sure that we've got the space that we need. So that's a tricky spot in the day. It's required some extra staff, but again, everybody's willing to help out in any way. We had open house for pre-K tonight. I had to scoot out a little bit early, but our pre-K kiddos are, first of all, so little and so excited about coming to school for the first time on Tuesday. They got to have a tour of their room. I also want to thank our West Gardner families because that traffic line goes all the way down Spears Corner Road. And it took us a little bit of time. We had some unexpected pickups. And so we hadn't called our students down for dismissal at the end of the day and not really delayed the process, but we will get that fine tuned, work out all the glitches, and that will get better and better and better. And teachers are reporting that they have started with the new literacy curriculum and feeling really successful, like the routines built into that are working for the kids. And they have been delighted to report that, like, oh my gosh, we started with this today and you should have seen the kids. They were so engaged, and the texts that came along with that are so engaging. So we're really, really tired, but we're really, really excited to be back.
Thank you, Katie. So you've heard a lot about how the opening of school has gone. It's been pretty similar at Pittston Randolph Consolidated. We also had an open house on Monday evening that parents were really, really appreciative, actually had come up and said, thank you for doing this, even though it's different. Like, we really like the opportunity to be able to see people in person, face to face. And it was so great for the children. So we had a good turnout for that. First day of school, the first day and today both went really smoothly. We have a lot of positive energy, just like Katie and Vicki have shared too, and Sarah as well. Lots of positive energy. The teachers and staff have worked so hard to just get the building ready, get everything in place, and welcome the children back. And I've been doing greeting in the morning, and the kids are so happy to be there, and the parents are really, happy to have school 5 days a week too. So it's been going really well. We had some of the transportation things, but those are smoothing out. And people are flexible. We have some different space issues going on, of course, without the modulars there, but people have been pitching in and really being flexible and positive with that. So it's going really well, and it's great to just be able to welcome them back 5 days a week. So.
Thank you, Christina. And I will add, the transportation department has certainly indicated that they've had some challenges. They had the phone ringing Tuesday night until 6 o'clock at night, and it started ringing Wednesday morning at 5:05 in the morning. And the fact that our staff was still there. They were still there to answer the phone. They know it was ringing. Because there have been just some challenges, because last year we had so few students riding. They just had an influx of requests. And there were some challenges. There have been some glitches, but they're working really hard to fix them and make sure it doesn't happen moving forward.
I had a few phone calls regarding the blocking of the street, parents parking on both sides of the street, EMT not being able to get passed through if they needed to. But I also reminded the parents that this is our first couple of days, and let's give everybody grace and see what happens next week.
Yeah, absolutely. And I would encourage you to have those people call us. Since we kind of manage that traffic, just direct them to us so that we can let them know what's going on and hear some of the specifics. But traffic at the Pittston Randolph School is always a challenge because the road is narrow. There's not a lot of parking. Right now, we have 2 large modular buildings sitting in the parking lot, taking up some of the limited parking space. We are hoping under the ESSER grant to expand the parking. That's part of the grant. I'll get to that later about where that grant stands. So we're trying to take measures and steps to improve the situation, but right now it's not ideal, and we do know that.
And it's 2 days in.
Right, correct.
Hi. So I know for special education, special educators are super thrilled to be back in person 5 days a week. It makes their jobs much easier to have all of their kiddos face to face rather than trying to provide the synchronous learning. So I know that they're super excited to be back. We've been super busy at the Office of Special Services. The start of the school year on this side has been a real challenge this year. We're currently down 6 ed techs. At one point we were down 9 or 10. So we've been able to fill some positions. There are few applicants, and most people that have applied have already found jobs elsewhere. So if you know of anyone that wants to work as a special ed tech, please send them my way. All the buildings are short-staffed. So I've had to pull staff from other buildings just to make sure that all of our special programs have adequate staff to provide supports for students. So that leaves, every building with 1 or 2, maybe 3 ed techs down than what they had last year, making it a challenge. We've had several students within the past couple of days with very complex needs move into district. Again, being short-staffed, these kiddos have to go into our special programs, and it's hard to pull from another building to provide coverage and support for a student when we don't have that flexibility this year. We've also had several students that we've had in the past who left. They've come back, and again, they're complex students. So we've had several kiddos over the past 3 to 4 days register requiring special programs or out of district placements. Special purpose private schools right now are experiencing the same shortages that we are with staffing. So we have kids that we need to place that we can't program for, and we can't place them because the special purpose private schools are also, they don't have the staff. So we're left to, provide the programming. We do the best we can. We give them access, provide FAPE, but again, it's not ideal and it's not what we would want. Transportation has been a challenge. Most of our kiddos that are in the special programs require special transportation, and we're down drivers. In the past, we've been able to pull some of our fabulous ed techs in the morning and in the afternoon to drive vans to provide that special transportation. We don't have that flexibility this year, again, because we don't have the staff. They need to really be in the buildings to support the kiddos. We reach out to outside agencies who are fabulous, but they're also having the same shortages that we are. So providing transportation, to and from school to these kiddos is also a challenge. We're managing, we've been able to be really creative. We're doing it, but it's definitely been a difficult past week in the office. But we're excited to be here. We're gonna, let kids settle in. It's the second day of school, right? Yeah, second day of school.
I hear you.
I don't know.
It's been that kind of week in the central office.
Second day of school, we're gonna, give a couple of weeks, see how it goes. And then if we're still seeing the same challenges or more kiddos are coming in with complex needs, we're gonna have to have some hard conversations and potentially restructure staff and just do what we need to do for students. And we're super excited that our autism program is up and running. It's expanded, and we've had some kiddos that we would not be able to service otherwise if we didn't expand. So that's good.
Thank you, Alicia.
Excellent, thank you. While he's walking over, just so you know, Karen Moody, her daughter's getting married this weekend, so she's not here. That's why she's not here this evening. And I'll fill you in about Angela afterwards.
Karen's a little busy.
She's a little busy. Her daughter's timing, right, wasn't.
What
was she thinking?
The high school, we've had 2 days. We had the first day with our freshmen. We did a freshman orientation. I think that went pretty well. We take our kids through small group sessions, get them a tour of the building, acclimate them to their teachers, their classes, meet with guidance, meet with admin, and we do a mini round of their O-Day and B-Day schedules. And the group is like 137 kids, a really good group of kids. I think it was very successful. A lot of kids, I think, walked away feeling less nervous about coming in with the full component of kids coming in. On day 2, we are, as of tomorrow, we're registering another student. We'll be at the 640 mark. So I just met with a student that's going to be coming in on a tuition agreement. And so that is exciting to be keeping ourselves up in the 640 range, 650. It's kind of like what we're. Day 2 was day 1 for our grades 10 through 12. And I think today went very well. We had a lot of schedule changes. Guidance was very busy. The main office was very busy. kids bringing in paperwork, getting laptops and having their pictures taken and so forth. But overall, the vibe was very positive. And I think we had a good start. So looking for another good day tomorrow and heading into a long weekend.
Thank you, Chad.
Thank you, Chad.
And Angela is on her way. She's driving a U-Haul.
She moving into her office?
No, she's working behind the scenes here to get some textbooks for the district and found, is actually trading something that we're not using and getting something free from another school district. And then found that one of the new textbooks that we're using at the middle school for social studies, or is it social studies or math? That has access to them, that there's some available. So she rented a U-Haul this afternoon and is driving down and picking them up. She's on her way back. And it's saving the district $5,000. So it's worth her not being here tonight or having her late. So it's huge.
She has to go.
She has to go to Portland.
Oh, well, that's.
So yeah, but still, so that's where she is.
She's
driving a So she's driving a U-Haul right now. So you might see a U-Haul drive in. If so, that's Angela.
Standing ovation when she walks in.
Absolutely.
That's the way we do things here.
So Chaz mentioned
great.
enrollment. I thought I would just share a little bit. These numbers are still preliminary. Okay, they haven't been finalized, but we always give you enrollment updates, and so I thought I would just provide them. So last year on September 1st, our opening enrollment was 1,940. As of right now, there are 1,992. So we're up 52. Now of those, we have 45 new ones at LER alone. LER has experienced the largest increase. And then the middle school. The middle school had 47 new students within the last 2 weeks. Now they've lost some students, so overall, it's a net of 20. I looked back to 2019. So really, in September of 2019, before the pandemic hit. And our enrollment at that time was 2009. So we're not that far off where we were pre-pandemic, okay? So.
That's great news.
Yeah, so when we have a couple schools that are down a little bit, other schools that are up. And some are, they're pretty steady, so that's where we are, okay?
Great. That's awesome. Creation of a new district health advisory committee.
Yeah, so at the last meeting, one of my recommendations is that we do create this committee. So I've tried to put a little thought to it. I've run this by Becky. I don't know how many I need here. And I don't know how many I need, so I made extra. So what I'm looking at doing is, you can see the makeup of the committee. Certainly I need to be on it, Angela, Chad, so that we have high school representation, Sarah Sims, so we have middle school. Tiffany Cockrell has offered as an elementary administrator. I would have Gabe. I also, and I haven't had a chance to follow through on all of these. These are just kind of ideas, and I haven't had a chance to actually invite people yet. But I'd like to have someone representing the Teachers Association, the Ed Tech Association. I've mentioned to Becky having a couple board members. Want to have a couple nurses, one being the lead nurse, a couple parents, one representing K-5, one representing 6-12, and then I thought that we should invite the school physician. That doesn't mean that the school physician will accept and can serve, but that's what I was thinking, so that we have good representation. And I have to apologize. We have Josh here, and I didn't invite Josh to come up and tell you about adult ed for the start of the school. I'm so sorry, Josh.
You want me to give a
So
quick?
can we pause and let him do that? Yeah, please, I'm sorry.
So adult ed rolls out, we really kind of opened over a couple of weeks with our students. And we have 2 new admins, one that started last week, one that's starting this next week. So that's certainly making this interesting. We're doing on-the-job training, so, because they help with a lot of the intakes. So we have gotten really positive response. I think if I haven't been here that long, so I don't have a lot of non-pandemic experience in Gardner. But I feel like the response to our outreach to bring students back right now is really well received. We did operate over the summer, providing some ongoing classes just to keep people connected. And I think we've only had, out of the 40+ students that we're kind of reaching out to, we haven't heard back from everybody, but right now only 3 of them have said, yeah, no, thanks, I'm done. I don't want to do that, which we often hear. Life happens for folks, for adults. So, so really good. Enrichment really picks up next week. We have a much smaller program going on for the enrichment and community education this semester, but there's some good excitement about it. So I'm hoping we'll kind of build back up this year to levels we were at prior. And we are offering both online, an online and so a remote and a in-person high school completion work, which is most of our students. And our teacher, Diane Bailey, found last year that we actually had a lot of students that really worked for them, because transportation is often a challenge for folks who have kids, and others it becomes even more, the time back and forth. So we decided this year to do the very same thing that we did last year. And we're actually leaning a little heavier into the remote use. And I think the upside is we have to do standard assessment every year for our students when they come back in, federal requirement. So they are actually coming in to do that. I think more readily, knowing that they're not going to have to always come to class, come in for class every week, and that they can do that remotely. So looks like a good start. So that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Josh.
May I ask him a
Appreciate it.
question?
Yes, you may.
Josh, do you feel like you might have a greater number of people to enroll when
Yeah,
they do the remote part, where they can be at home with their kids and whatever, in that regard?
Yeah, we have some. I can identify at least probably 5 or 6 this right now that would not be going with us if they didn't have the remote option. We have some young parents, both the mom and dad, who are both going to participate at different times. So we have that happening, and I don't think they would be with us at all if we didn't have the remote. So
I think that's really.
I think overall we'll probably be up on enrollment, but it's hard to tell
Hard to judge right now.
right now. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think we'll know better by the end of the month if we're up on.
That's really great. Thank you, Josh.
Oh, the other question?
Yeah, could you turn that off behind you, the AC?
Would you turn this-
AC?
Yeah.
Lower? No. I'm just kidding. Up?
And for board members who haven't been in this room,
Yeah.
You asked for
I
it now. You're
recommend
gonna
that you
really-
bring
you're gonna regret
layers.
it.
because it's really, really hot or it's really,
Really,
really
really cold.
cold and we can't control it.
And we're sitting on
Okay.
the bed.
Right.
Right, oh,
So-
no. So in the winter, what's gonna happen is. it's
Hi,
gonna
Angela.
blow hot air
Thank
in
you.
your back.
I put it up to 76, but it doesn't appear to be stopping.
The American Picker,
So,
is that the show?
oh, right, yeah.
Angela, the U-Haul driver.
You could do an American Picker show.
Yeah, you could do American Pickers.
I filled them in on why you weren't here.
Thank you so much for that. Thank you for that mission of greatness. That's awesome.
Okay, so back to the district health advisory committee. So I've kind of outlined what I envision as being members or the positions that would make up the committee. And then you will see at the bottom, I kind of added what I viewed as the purpose: to gather and review COVID-19 data to be presented to the school board at its regular monthly meeting prior to voting on its universal mask mandate. So that's the point, to give you some guidance. But then what does that mean? And so I added that one, the committee should be responsible to really look at student and staff COVID cases, close contacts, review the Kennebec County transmission levels using the US CDC COVID data tracker that's available. Review student and staff vaccination rates, since the Department of Health and Human Services are going to be producing that every month. And then be prepared to kind of make a recommendation to the board based on that data. So that's what I have for that. So that would be my recommendation if the board wants to talk about it. I also have somewhere here, speaking of close contacts, at the board meeting 2 weeks ago, I was asked if I had last year's data, and I didn't at that time. The nurses don't work during the summer, so I needed to collect it. So the nurses have provided that data to me this week. And so for last year, the number of positive cases linked to school directly, we had 6 students throughout the school year of 2021. We had 10 staff that was directly linked to the school. Then for positive cases not linked to the school, we have 83 students and 15 staff. Then close contacts linked to the school. Across the district, we had 687. And we had 148 staff. That meant every time they were close contact, they had to quarantine last year. And then we had 88 as a result of athletics. Then close contacts not linked to the school. We had 257 students and 29 staff.
That tested positive.
No, close contacts not linked to the school.
Okay. Yeah.
So I just thought you'd find that useful.
So 6 students in all MSAD11 tested positive.
No. 6 students that were linked to a school transmission were positive. So due to a school contact, okay, or somehow in school, they probably contracted COVID as a result of that contact. Then there were 83 students who had COVID, but those cases were community spread, okay, it was not connected to the school. They somehow contracted COVID outside of the school.
Vacation, what have you.
Yeah, whatever. So, but those were also our students.
Yeah. Good
Pat, may I ask
information.
you a question? You mentioned this group would meet monthly. I'm wondering if you're considering that the school board members and the parents would rotate, or if you would just keep the assigned people that are in it, or if you've had some thought about that.
My thought is that you just have assigned people, because your conversation is going to be similar. People are figuring out how to analyze the data. And if you have rotating members, then it's almost like you're starting from scratch every single month.
Yeah, with obviously elections, it might change, but I'm just thinking.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
What date are you looking at? Pat?
I don't have a date,
Okay.
and I was thinking that maybe it would be done during lunch. Because a lot of these people are staff members and like nurses. And so, and I was thinking about a parent, maybe over the lunch break, we could meet through Google Meet or something like that. It wouldn't have to be in person. And I think that's maybe the best way to go about it, so. But, and again, I haven't necessarily asked everyone yet. I didn't want to get ahead of the board deciding what the positions would be, that would represent, who would serve on this committee to represent the makeup of this advisory committee. So I think it was really clear that we identify certain people, but some I just have to wait until you give your nod of approval.
Are you looking at?
Is it just a nod or is it?
Is that, that is really at the whim of the board. That's
Right.
entirely up to you and how formal you want to be. If you want to formalize this and make a motion, that's totally fine. If you're just like, no, this looks good, go ahead. I'm okay with that too. So it's really up to.
Is this
up
the
to what you want.
final list of people from the school board? Are you open to
It
adding
is-
one or
it
two
is-
or?
I added the people for the school board because typically when we do a committee like this, nobody wants to do it, frankly. So I don't even have to be on it. If there are board members who would rather do it, that's really fine with me. How it typically happens is nobody raises their hand and so I.
That's just why
I don't know if I didn't know if I missed an email or if
No,
I
no,
fell
no.
asleep last meeting
No, so
through that. or-
Pat put out a Google Doc and I put myself down because that's how it usually goes is what I just said. I thought Matthew Lillybridge could be great because he's had so much COVID experience with his job at Colby. I put Cullen down because he's new and and when the new guy comes, you want to give him something that he, you know.
Oh, I
he'll just
thought it
love
had to do with
do.
his communications
Well, that too,
background.
yeah. And he has a great communications
I
background.
haven't learned not to volunteer.
See, you gotta sit on your hands. And I put Matthew Marshall because he's the curriculum chair and I just think it's good to, I don't know, he's got maybe another foot on the ground that through that committee. But if there's other board members that are
I'd
interested,
like to nominate Patrick if he's interested, where he does have some medical background, being an EMT.
Like I said, I didn't know if that was just a final list. I missed that in the Google Docs and I apologize. That's an oversight.
This did not go out to
It
the
did
board.
not.
This was just a.
Like I missed it
No,
too.
no, this was just to Beck say, okay, this is what I'm thinking about
Right.
proposing, give me some feedback, and then I'll put it out to the board. And so here it is to the
You know,
board.
frankly, the data, I think, is the data. I mean,
Yeah.
the data is the data. It's not something that's any particular board member would make up on their own, and I'm not implying that anybody's thinking that.
Mhm.
But I just think, if you look at, some of the things that Pat put down, the transmission levels using the CDC COVID data tracker, I mean, the data comes right out of the tracker. It can't be manipulated. The student and staff vaccination rates, it's a matter of record. So, and I'm good with this list. I don't have a problem serving on the committee. But
I just am hesitant to only allow 2 parents and then the school board members you have and not rotate out. I feel like same argument you just gave, the data is the data, so does it have to be the same group? And I don't know, I'm one to usually raise my hand, but I don't know if I could add another meeting either, but so I'm just saying it like, if more folks did want to be involved, or we did have different parents that have different needs and could meet one month, but maybe not the next. I don't want to make it seem like we're excluding them or, and your staff too, honestly, you're adding this to their plate too, but.
if this is an official committee, is it gonna be an official committee or is it gonna be sort of an ad hoc committee?
It would be an ad hoc.
Okay, so-
It's just
so-
a temporary.
So any committee, but any school
Anybody
board member
can
could
go,
participate if they
right.
wanted to show,
Yes.
just like any other like the policy meeting or the curriculum committee.
correct.
So, I mean, I think it's good to have a core group of people, but if anybody wants to come, including, I would imagine faculty or anybody else, they could.
Sure, people could come to
Just to
listen.
listen.
Yes, right, yeah.
Yes.
We need to have a core group identified who will be the ones responsible to make the recommendation. I can't just have it open to whomever wants to. There's a management piece. The other thing, there is a management piece if it keeps rotating. If I have a core group, I can send out an invitation, right? And we can set it on everyone's calendar, one and done. And so if that changes on a monthly basis, there's just another management piece that
An
comes with
opportunity
it.
for someone to get dropped off. Accidentally.
That doesn't seem like a big deal to me, but that's fine. I'll go with whatever the group agrees.
So I guess if somebody on this list doesn't want to be on it, I would love to be on this committee. If not, I'm not gonna throw my name in the hat just to cause hate and discontent. That's not my intent. This is something that I'd like. to
You
be
can
part
have
of.
my spot.
Well,
I just don't want you hating me
Unless-
forever.
but you have Matt, so you want,
You could be the nurse.
I mean, which, so Matt wants it, I don't know about Cullen, so yeah, how do we go about
You got seniority to
deciding?
me, so I'd be happy to.
Don't worry about, no, I won't play that card here. I've got 1.5 years on
So,
board.
Are you saying no to both? Cullen is backing out, so
So
Matt
Colin doesn't want to
Marshall.
be on it. Matt Marshall does, so Colin, and that's not, I don't mean that way. Colin doesn't want it. No, take Cullen off. I mean, how do you feel about, would you prefer 2 board members, 3 board members, 4 board members?
I mean,
What would you
personally, I prefer 2, only because it becomes a management piece. Those who've
Right.
worked with committees,
Yep.
the larger committee, you know, the more difficult it is. And so this is already a committee of 13. So,
I am happy to take myself off. And I don't,
You know, both Matthews are a good fit in there. I'll take my name out, I'll back up, so that way there doesn't cause any issues, and I'll just take, and if the links can be sent to all the board members, I'll just listen in.
Yeah, but
And go
if
that
she took them off, then that makes room for you. If Becky's taking herself off.
Yeah, but
And
it sounds like
Then-
there's want less board members than.
there were 4 names.
then that would leave Matthew
There were 4 names.
Willybridge. I mean, what you could do, is you haven't even asked Matt if he's interested. Matt may not be interested or
Correct.
available.
Correct.
And so if because of Matthew's background, you
Mm.
put him down here, you could certainly ask. And then if he's not interested, then I have Patrick down and Patrick could then serve.
Is that okay with you?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
Whatever is easiest for this whole thing. I mean,
I just think it's more important to have somebody that's in the medical field or medical background than somebody that,
I think with that aspect though, you have Kristen Martin, who is very well apt to handle this. She's proven herself over the past year. And I just didn't know, I mean, if this is gonna be a Zoom or a Google Meets type deal, I can always be watching in type deal, and if I have anything to add, I could always fire an email to one of the school board members and go that route there, you know, so that way there doesn't cause a distraction or an issue. So if Matt Willibridge doesn't want it or somebody doesn't want it, I am interested, but like I said, I don't want to cause more of a headache than anything. So once you solidify it, I'll be happy with whatever.
And I assume you're doing that, not
I
me.
will reach out to Matt Willibridge, and he was unable to be here tonight. He had a previous commitment. So,
So, and am I hearing a Google Meet? Usually I'm just inviting members of the committee. Am I hearing you say that I need to make sure that every member of the school board gets it? Because it's not a public meeting. It's not like I would live stream it or anything. It's just for us to do the work behind the scenes.
so
But
you just do the work behind the scenes and then present it at the school board
Correct.
meeting.
correct. But I'm hearing that people may want to attend to watch. So
are we hearing that right? Do people want to attend to watch?
If there's,
Yes, would
What-
be.
I'm trying my best not to be a pain in the.
You're not being a
Here, but
pain, and you get.
I would like to have insight in this committee.
Okay.
Just so that way there I'm more educated on my vote
Mhm.
every month. I trust the people that are going to be placed on this committee will give us the information and their opinions. But I'd just like to have that additional piece of information that they talk about during the meetings. And that's one of the reasons why I'd like to be on the committee. If that's not possible, that's fine. Both Matts have more time on the school board, as do you, so.
Can we record it?
I can record it internally, yeah. I can do that too.
We could record it.
How about, I think what we need to do is solidify the members of the board first.
Yeah.
And then we can discuss this later on.
Yeah.
And we have a few weeks before the next discussion. So whatever works best,
Okay.
seriously, whatever works best
I
for
appreciate
the
that.
overall.
I appreciate that. And I don't want you to feel like, I don't want you to feel left off.
No, that's fine. I'm just expressing an interest on it. And if it's accommodated, so be it. If not, I won't hold any ill will towards anyone.
Okay.
So,
And if we as board members find out information that we think is valuable, we can share it with the members of this committee.
What exactly do you mean?
Like, I don't know, say we learn of some information that we feel the committee should be aware of.
What type of information? I mean, what we're trying to do is follow the information that is provided out there by CDC. What I don't want to be in a position of, to be perfectly honest, I'm not trained medically. That's not my background. So for me to see, to sift through, well, these people are saying this should be done. These different people are saying this should be done, that this is about masks. And then someone else counters that and this is about masks. Realistically, I don't think that that is what I want this committee to do. And that certainly, I don't feel like that would be fair to ask me to start making a recommendation to you based on different ideology and information and medical opinion. I'd like to follow this information from the CDC is what's out there. That's what's provided to us. I would like to be able to access that information and again, not have to read through and try to figure out which opinion is credible.
I'm a big fan of data. Data is extremely important. I'm not particularly interested in listening to another school board meeting from a city in Utah where they discussed the politics of masks.
Correct.
Let's just say. So I think this committee has to be laser focused on data and what's right for our district. And then when we bring it forward to the board, you need to vote the way you feel you need to vote, like we did a couple weeks ago.
And that's why we're having this committee, so we can do
Right.
them month by month. And it is about looking at the data.
So that's why I agree with Patrick's approach of if we have this available as another tool and we see the same data, so if it's recorded or we receive the same, then I'm on board with that too. Yeah, I agree.
I agree.
I just figured that would solve
Yeah.
the rotation thing
Yeah.
and solve,
Yeah.
people who aren't on the committee that we can still have access to this
Yeah,
meeting.
exactly.
Just trying to find-
This type of committee has the ability to really drive a wedge between board members.
Certainly.
And it's something that we really need to watch out for.
Absolutely.
That's not the
not
intent.
realistic.
Yeah, I know, Pat, I absolutely,
It's
Pat, I
not-
think it's a great idea. I
You
just,
listed the sources, you're gonna use them every time. I think that's what you stick with, right?
Yep.
To your
Right.
point, that's the data you get and you review.
and I think that's a good reason to have consistent members on this committee
Correct.
instead of a revolving door.
Jim,
How soon do you think we'll be getting some real data from the main CDC about local infection rates, local vaccination rates? I mean, I know it's been said that we will get it,
It's out there now. Some of it,
So the
some
student,
of it, but not as close as I'd like to see.
right.
some of
a
the
lot less.
information is going to come out monthly. So the student vaccination rates are coming out monthly. And they just posted for the zip code 04345 last month.
Right.
And for our zip code, the percentage of students who are eligible to be vaccinated, it's 50 to 54% is what it's currently at. We as a district are currently in the process of collecting the vaccination rates or numbers for staff. And so that has to be submitted to DHHS no later than September 10th. And then that will be released. And again, that will be released based on per building. And then another category, which would include bus drivers, Angela and myself, itinerant teachers who move from building to building, that type of coaches, substitutes, that type of thing. So that will be available. There's also already available this data tracker that's put out by the US CDC. And so if you go into that data tracker, they track it per week. And so that's done on a weekly basis. That's available for anyone. So we would pull that information up specific to Kennebec County, and we can get there's a whole bunch of data that they collect and they published. So that I believe is available on a weekly basis.
I understood there was going to be some availability almost on a building by building reporting system
That's the
for,
pool
For
test.
staff,
only for staff, but not
Yes.
for, okay,
not for students.
okay.
And you figure none of our elementary students, because they're
No, I
not
know
old
that,
enough yet.
yeah.
So that leaves us with the middle school. And of course, some of those students are not old enough. Some of our sixth graders are not old enough. And then the high school. And that's where the percentage came out, 50 to 54%.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So whether folks want to vote on this or not, it's whatever you want to do.
I mean, it's part of the vote that we did at our last meeting.
That it would be
right? It
created, that's
yeah.
correct. So, yep, you could
I
look at it that
concur,
way.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay,
So
so we're
everybody's-
good?
Everybody's good with this?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay,
Okay,
awesome.
great.
Thank you.
And Patrick, I'll be in touch when I know. I'll let you know either way. Let's see, new business?
Yes, under new business, discussion of the use of the $250,000 additional state subsidy. You'll remember during our budget season, that the board voted to use that additional money to apply it to a reserve account for capital improvement. So that vote has already happened here tonight to inquire about whether the board would reconsider shifting that to Hope Field as we kind of work through our contract, the fact that we've needed to switch to a different company. And so I have a motion, if you're willing to consider doing that with the understanding, and we can modify the motion to include this, that money recovered as a result would then be brought back into the district and would be applied towards the capital improvement reserve account like you originally intended.
Questions?
We need the whole amount, I assume? You're asking for the whole.
I would ask for the whole, but if we don't
Okay.
need it, we wouldn't
Gotcha.
use it, right?
Okay, yep.
So the motion would be, I move to rescind the action taken by this board on, we have to go back to the date, I'm sorry, I don't have the exact date. It was in the spring. To allocate the sum of $250,000 in supplemental state funding to the capital improvement reserve account, to instead authorize the 2021-2022 school budget to be increased by $250,000, to appropriate that sum for a portion of the cost of the turf field project, to authorize the superintendent to implement these amendments to the total school budget and the appropriate cost centers. And then this is where we could add, and monies received
Money's
would,
returned to the district.
monies returned to the district would go directly back into the capital improvement reserve account.
To replenish the capital account.
Do we know, is there any violation of moving the money to that as opposed to capital improvement, or is there anything we have to worry about with the federal side of it?
No,
Okay.
because of the language that was approved in the supplemental bill budget, that authorized school boards to expend the full amount without the need to go to the voters, our attorney says you're all set.
Yes, Jim?
I'll make the motion that we should do as Pat just spoke.
Thank you.
I don't want to.
Say all the words, Jim.
Second.
Second by Tony. Other questions, conversation? Yes,
This,
Colin?
our superintendent and finance director are both in favor of this move.
Yes.
Any further questions? All those in favor? Motion carries. Thank you.
Here, I'll have you write what you added. Okay, then the next one is discussion and consideration to delay the state mandated teacher and principal evaluation as allowed in LD 1172. So attached to the board packet, I included a number of legislative items, which I will talk about a little bit later. But one of those included this LD 1172, which allows for school districts to not require to evaluate an educator using the performance evaluation and professional growth system in this school year only, unless they're a second-year probationary teacher, then that would be different. That for those of you who were here when we developed our evaluation system. It is incredibly extensive. I think you heard when it first went into policy, that it takes hours to complete this obligation. That you start with a meeting, you do an observation, you follow up with another meeting, and you type it up. So each evaluation takes somewhere, depending upon the comfort level of and the experience of the evaluator, it's not unheard of to take 5 hours or so per evaluation. For probationary teachers, you're doing that twice a year. And so this law is requiring, with everything that's going on with COVID, that not be required this year. So I've worked with the administrative team and I've spoken with the Teachers Association. And we have a recommendation, and that would be to require that every continuing contract teacher meet with their buildings administrator in the fall and kind of talk about the year. And that every continuing contract teacher would still receive an informal observation. So that administrators would still be in every single year, this year, into every single classroom to provide some feedback to staff. Any staff member, any continuing contract staff member who is on an action plan, that action plan would stay in place, that would continue to be implemented. And that for every probationary teacher, knowing this year we have a lot of probationary teachers because we've hired so many more using the federal money, that their evaluation process would remain, because we only have 2 years to evaluate them, and we don't want to skip a year, even though the law would allow us to skip the first year for probationary teachers. We don't feel that that's appropriate. And if anything, we still have some teachers who fall on the law that gave us a 3-year probationary period. And remember, this is the last year that any of them fall under that 3-year, and we revert back to just 2 years. So we're supporting, as an administrative team, that we evaluate all of our probationary teachers fully, as we would any normal year. For our continuing contract, a fall meeting and an informal observation versus goals versus more formal observations, that sort of thing. And then apply the same for administrators. That for administrators who are continuing to not go through their extensive evaluation process. However, for any probationary administrator, same thing would hold true, that we will continue to follow the policy and hold them accountable. Right, Sarah?
That's
So that is the recommendation that I would make to the board, that we take advantage of this legislation and kind of take a pause in some way to the evaluation process, as I just outlined.
You need a motion on that, Pat? Is that what you're
I
seeking?
would, it's a board policy,
Yeah.
so I don't have the authority to just do it without your approval.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
Great. Questions or comments from anyone? All those in favor?
Awesome, thank you, and I'm sure staff will thank you and administrators will thank you, so appreciate it.
Yes. All right, board chair. I don't have a report, however, I was speaking with Jim because fall conference is coming up next month, and he's our delegate to the delegate assembly, and there's a packet of resolutions, and it's 6 things, 6,
4 specific and
and then 2.
all-inclusive one.
Yes. So what I'd like to do is send you, all of you, the resolutions packet and have you look through it and come prepared at next month's meeting, just to
if you have questions, concerns, things that stick out to you as things that we need to work on. These are important, resolutions are important because this is how legislation is created that goes forward. So it's important that we know what we think as a board and how we want to proceed. And Jim has offered again to do, to be our delegate to delegate assembly. So I will forward that packet to all of you. And if you would please take some time and read through it. It's not lengthy. It's pretty straightforward, and we'll be on next month's agenda, and we'll work on that.
And so the delegate assembly actually occurs on Saturday, October 23rd. And then the
Remotely.
annual school board conference is on Thursday, October 28th, and Friday, October 29th. So, and I believe that that's going to be done remotely again this
Also
year, right?
remotely, yes.
So for board members who have not had an opportunity to participate, when this includes you, these are some of our phenomenal workshops and clinics. And so if you are able to attend, and maybe there's more flexibility since it's remote, certainly let us know. I assume Maine School Management will be notifying us soon and issuing an agenda so that you can see the types of clinics that will be available. But we would love to have you, and the district, of course, pays for you to participate in that. Okay. Yes.
I missed old business, but I did want to mention, I renovate houses and sell them or keep them. I looked at the modular at the high school for considering flipping it. I'm recommending the board to reconsider selling it. I think it could make a really nice concession stand. You could have inside seating. And there's already 2 bathrooms there. There's plenty of space for storage. And we could also even add a deck in the end zone and sell VIP tickets for people to sit out there and watch the game. I brought 2 of my contractors with me. They really, I mean, I was ready to make an offer and buy a piece of land and move it. I could not get it moved for over a year because of people being backed up. But just being the frugal person that I am, I think that we should relook at it, readdress it. Maybe some of the board members can go down and look at it. I just have a lot of vision for it.
So that would have to be for something that extensive. If there are items that you want to talk about, I would encourage you in advance of us creating the agenda, that you reach out to us, send us an email and say, I would like to have this item on the agenda to discuss.
Okay.
That we don't just generally add on the agenda a new discussion like this. Because in this particular case, I would need Gabe to be a part of the conversation and get his take on it. I don't know if Chad knew that there were members of the public down on the field looking at.
Oh, no. I went through the realtor.
Oh, okay,
The
gotcha.
property was shown
gotcha.
to me.
Okay,
Yeah. Oh,
gotcha.
no. No, I use the realtor.
So that is something that, if the board wants to consider or rediscuss, that we can add to a next agenda and absolutely talk about that. I'm just not comfortable having a conversation tonight. I'm not prepared. And again, I would want Gabe to be here because I know he has some opinions on that as well. And I know Boosters has looked at that as well, so.
Yep. I'm just all about saving money. And I mean, if it's good enough for a house to be flipped, I think we could really make it something really nice for concession and for storage.
So I will follow up with Gabe, with Chad, and with Becky, so that we can discuss. So we can discuss it, okay? Thank you.
Thank you.
Superintendent's report.
I actually would like to add one thing to your report.
Oh, okay.
Because
Am I gonna be
I
prepared?
received an email yesterday, day before, someday this week, that says that I should be attending a regional school board meeting next Tuesday night
Yeah.
at 6 o'clock
For our district, or
to
our,
talk about this
Region
in
8.
Region 8.
Yep.
So I wanted to make sure that all of you knew that there is
Yeah.
going to be a Region 8 school board meeting. So that would include Augusta, RSU 2, Winthrop, Reed Field, Miranda Cook. And I assume you and Steve, who is the executive director for Maine School Management, will lead that conversation. And I think on it are the resolutions. That's one of the
Yes,
things that will
yep.
be discussed. So you might be really interested, Jim,
Yeah.
in attending and being a part of it. It's all a Zoom meeting.
Yep.
What day was it again?
Tuesday from
Tuesday.
6 to 7:30.
Can I
you
go?
should have gotten an email, I did. with all
Yeah,
the
Yeah,
info.
you guys get invited to these things. They've been happening, I don't know, quarterly,
Right.
all along. So check your email. in there.
Jakey, can you see that I get an invitation?
Absolutely. I will make sure.
Either, thank you.
Okay, so then I'll move on to.
Okay.
So the status of the modular units, the status that I have it's a few days old, so I'm not certain if maybe Christina and Katie have a more current update. But as I drove around the schools yesterday, Pittston's, at least 2 of the units, and I think that there's another piece coming. All 3 are there? Okay, all 3 are on site. Are all of yours on site now? They're across the street, right? And so they're all here. I'm not sure whether I've told you this or not, but part of the delay had to do with transportation and that the drivers got COVID and they had to send down new company and all of that sort of stuff. So we're really excited that they're here. And now I am told that placement to try to get them in place will start after Labor Day. Is that what you're hearing?
Yes.
Okay, so next week. So crossing our fingers, again, they were supposed to be here in the middle of July, and here we are, so. So I want you to be aware of that. Also, APR, American
Where you
Recovery
got that?
Plan, I'm sorry?
Before you get off the modulars, I got a contact from the select board, Pittston, that there was some damage to the road out front when one of the units was being delivered. I don't, they were supposed, I asked if they call you and talk to somebody on.
They have not spoken to me.
Okay, well, I'll check.
Maybe they called
They call Gabe, I
Gabe.
don't know.
Andrea, did you hear about that?
I haven't seen it, I don't know, I'm just repeating what I was told.
Okay.
And if so, then if there, I don't know if it's, because I know they just spent quite a bit of money on School Street having it resurfaced, and if it's damaged, then somebody needs to take care of it.
Yeah, I'll follow up with
Thank you very much.
Gabe tomorrow.
I don't know, I haven't seen it, so I don't know.
Okay, yeah, I haven't heard about it. All right, so update on the American Recovery Act or ESSER 3 grant. Yeah, I still haven't had a chance to submit that. It is due by the end of this month. We've been trying to pull it together, but it is more comprehensive than our previous grant. So just know that we are spending money. And we have not even submitted the grant for which those expenses are going to be covered. I am certain, based upon the criteria, that all of our staff, our new staff that we've hired, it does meet the criteria and we will get funded, but I want to be really upfront about it. We are struggling to find the time in the office to be able to do that. It's comprehensive, it's very time consuming. Hopefully next week, things will settle down a little bit in my office and we will be able to get that done and get that submitted. Alice training. So for those of you who've been here a while, you know what Alice training is, right?
Do we get to act it out?
Do other board members know Alice training? Everyone knows what Alice training is?
No.
Alice training, how about Mr. Kempton? Mr. Kempton and Karen Moody just participated in a 2-day Alice training. It is a defensive response to a shooter. There's actually more to it than that, so I'll let him just kind of mention it to you. And we are recommending that the school board be trained in Alice. So if you could just briefly outline what Alice is and what that would look like and how much time that we would need to devote to train the board, I would appreciate it.
It's more about being an active response to a shooter or a threat versus a passive response. And I think if everybody, when you think about an active shooter event, you think about what? Locking down and hiding in a corner. That's what we all used to do when we were growing up. And this provides options for people to take action against a threat to save their lives. So it's an active response versus a passive response. ALICE is an acronym, and it's alert, lockdown, inform, counter, and evacuate. And those are all parts of the system that you use when you're faced with a threatening situation. And what Karen and I do, we've been through 2 different trainings. We went through one 3 years ago when we went through a refresher this summer. It's a 2-day training. It's a combination of educators and law enforcement. The ALICE principles and protocols have been adopted and are supported by state police, Kennebec County, sheriff's departments. We trained with New Hampshire police. It's a national organization, and it just results in a lot better results for people given the circumstance. And so we take people through different scenarios. We talk about what the response is, what your options are, and the benefits that you have given the situation that you're in. One of the things that we brought to Pat's attention as part of our training was, one of the examples was an active shooter situation at a school board meeting, where a school board member was actually shot. And that's just, in the past, we've trained everyone in the district. The group that we did not train was the school board. And when Karen and I saw that, we looked at each other and was like, we have to do this. So that was the conversation we had with Pat, and we would encourage you to do, let us take you through this training, and hopefully it never has to be used, and it never comes to fruition. But if it is, it gives you some tools to protect yourself and to save yourself and each other's lives. So, in a nutshell, that's what it is.
And is that 2-hour training, 1-hour training?
I would say comfortable, it would be a 2-hour training. We did it in about an hour with new staff. Oh, come on now, Pat.
It was more than an hour. I was hounding you, right?
You are terrible at time.
Just stretch it a little.
And I mean that in the kindest way.
I can honestly tell you though, that there wasn't a person saying, can we be done with this yet?
Uh-huh.
Not one person.
Right.
Not one person ever has said it was a waste of time. And not one person has ever said, I feel worse ending after this training than I did before this training. So,
And when do you have it?
so we would, for you folks, we would have it, at some point that would meet the needs of the board. There you go.
I guess your time's up. She just told you that. Keep going.
So, I mean, we'd have to decide on a day and a time that would work for the board and take you folks through the training.
And you would have it like in this room or something like that?
Or maybe even throughout the building.
This would be the most appropriate place because this is where you meet and this is where it would happen. So to familiarize yourselves with this area and what you have for options would make the most sense.
You think to split it up between here and the little theater as well, where the larger groups, when we have larger meetings, public meetings?
Yeah, we can do that.
I'm just thinking on the other end of the spectrum, because I didn't go to Gardner High School, so I don't know. So I just,
In the event that you have meetings at the high school for larger crowds or whatever, then yeah, we could certainly do that.
do like the initial, like do the bulk of it here, and then just kind of schedule for us to be able to just go there and hit some key points, or
And the beauty of it is it applies everywhere. Doesn't
Yes.
matter where you are. You could be in the gym, you could be here, you could be in the little theater, you could be in the cafeteria, you could be in the library, be at the middle school, and the principles and the protocols apply to wherever you are. It also applies to when you're at the shopping center, or at the mall, if you've had a baseball game. It's not just specific to schools.
Okay, great. We'll work on that.
Yeah, I don't remember what made us do this training, but I think it's really impactful and powerful to do. Just before I came here tonight, I was on a National School Boards Association meeting with the acting executive director, and he was just talking about how what a difficult time school boards are having right now, and the violence that is outbreaking in boardrooms across the country. And board members just aren't prepared for those, we're parents, we're basically just nice people who do this job, who aren't necessarily trained to do this. So I think it's really important for us to make sure we're prepared.
I
Where-
would definitely be interested.
Where it came from, prior to us doing this, I was in Augusta at a school safety conference. And one of my colleagues, who was an administrator at an area school, and I were talking about it. He had just started going through the process of getting certified as a trainer, recommended it to me. I started researching it, brought it to the admin team and to Pat, did some more discussion about it, talked about it with Gardner Police, and then decided to participate in the trainings, and that's when Karen and I took part in the first training.
That's great. And it also helps to foster relationships with local law enforcement, which I think couldn't be a better thing to be doing at this point in our timing. So thank you, Chad.
So then the last item is a legislative update. I attached a summary of the most important ones. I'm not sure if everyone has had a chance to really review it. I thought I would just highlight, maybe for members of the public, some that really are more relevant to you. I do want to make sure on LD 61 that Family Medical Leave Act has now been expanded to allow individuals who are grandparents taking care of grandchildren or domestic partners' grandchildren. You now can take that time off through family medical leave. That under LD 816, that the school board must regularly communicate with school employees in the school unit and members of the public. So at some point you need to decide what that looks like. It could be that you guys create a newsletter. It could be that because you're live stream now, you're already meeting that requirement. So it's really broad. But I just want to make sure that you are aware.
Regarding that one, Steve, Maine School Management just put out something today, like a sample policy for districts to use regarding that particular one.
Oh,
That
okay.
I will send to you.
That'd be great. Yeah, I haven't seen that. Also, LD 651 wanted you to know that the DOE is going to be using a 3-year average for pupil count. If the average is greater than the current 2-year average, when a school administrative unit experiences a decrease of 10% or more of the total school administrative unit student enrollment, and that is for funding purposes. Okay, so that's through your ED 279, so you should know that. So given the dip that we had last year, that will really benefit school districts. Let's see, we also, this is important, LD 1323, a school board may, but is not required to permit a spouse of the member of the school board to serve as a stipend employee on a contractual basis or as a volunteer when that action is in the best interest of students and in a summation of potential conflict of interest. It's documented. Now, this will require a policy change if you want to allow that. I think a lot of it, this was done because of some of those rural areas. We've talked about that before. It's really difficult for them to find people. But that is something that I wanted to make sure you knew, that there is that a little bit of flexibility in the law now. And I think those are really the biggest ones that, oh, there is one more actually, the LD 1451, which provides school boards with increased flexibility to allow superintendents and principals to consider alternatives to expulsion and provides that these alternatives must be in writing. It also now references restorative interventions in the language describing the requirement to develop an individualized response plan to avoid dangerous student behavior after a substantiated report of an incident of dangerous behavior. So I assume we'll be receiving some guidance on that to know what that could look like, but that might give us a little more flexibility in terms of kind of that restorative justice process, which we've used in the past a little bit. So
does that mean if a school board member wants to be the bus driver, they can now?
no.
Oh. Just trying to help out with the bus driving.
You want to be a bus driver?
I think it'd be fun.
So school board members are not allowed to work for the district. This doesn't change that at all. This talked about, I have to find it again, where was it?
1323.
Sounds like it only talks about the
Permits a
spouse.
spouse of a
Correct.
school employee to serve as a stipend employee or on a contractual basis or volunteer when that action is in the best interest of the students. So, Jim?
Is a substitute teacher a stipend employee?
No. That is an employee. That's not a stipend.
Okay.
They're considered an employee. A stipend would be a coach. Something along those lines. A lead nurse.
Yeah,
Right, that's a
say that
stipend.
one, yeah.
So.
No
And-
subbing either.
Pardon me?
No subbing either.
No. So, and that's all that's what I have. That's my report.
So Pat, I have a quick question. Are we gonna, I know in the past we've had 2 student reps on the board. Is that something we're gonna look at again?
Yes, I was thinking about this earlier, sorry for not mentioning it tonight. I need to reach out to Mr. Kempton to find an opportunity for me to speak to the junior class. So that we can let them know that this opportunity exists and then we'll begin that process. So thank you.
Board members, check your emails if you are able. I sent the Region 8 invitation. I want to be sure, and I just did it to the school board address, if I never used it.
Yep, it works. I get it.
You got it? Okay. It doesn't come to me, so I.
Yeah,
Maybe
Google
because I
does that.
sent-
When you send it to a group, you don't get it. It kind of is a little funky.
Yeah, and then it doesn't show in the sent place.
Yeah.
Okay, great. So you also have it, and the link is included.
Before the Gardner reps run out, can I chat with you just for a second? It's not about school board business. I just want to have you sign something for me. It's a check.
You're more than
If you would like to.
We adjourned?
I would like to say we are done at 8:04. Thank you all so much.
Thank you.
It's probably
You're 8 months probably?
Soon.
My earliest we've been done in a long time.
Are you playing in the tournament?
Did you not hold?
I know. I went to Canada, I saw her, he had a game
All right.
down at SCC, and I